Hello there. I'm going to shift that. I am so glad to see you. It's been a travel day. It's been so much fun. Then it turned cold. I'm not going to lie. I know we don't have it as bad as my friends up north, but fur. So, anyway, you are listening to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, which we have a new full color issue out. It's so good. Tony Rathman is in here and he's going to be on in December. But meanwhile, you can get them. You can go to fatemagazine.com and you can get merch, you can get the magazines, you can get back issues, you can get books. There's all kinds of stuff there. And it's all way cool. Trust me on that. I love them. So, or if you see me at an event, I'll have these too. So do that. But I am excited and tired. Sorry. I'm so excited because I have been involved in some ufology research for a few years now. I am a community member of the Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies. I'm very proud of that. I am fascinated by the concept that there are things out there that we don't have any control over. It's a little freaky, right? But it's so cool because I was young going into seventh grade the first time I had an experience with something that I couldn't explain that was not spiritual. And so to me, I just thought, oh, these Green Berets are messing with me because I'm a kid, right? I saw an object in the sky. It was not a helicopter, but it was flying still. And I knew it wasn't a helicopter because I had been to the jump training that they were doing that day. My dad was a Green Beret. I'd watched him go through this. He was National Guard at that point. And I knew what a helicopter looked and sounded like, and there wasn't any noise with this. And it was still being very still. There wasn't any bob and weave. There weren't rotors that you could see or hear spinning. So when I went to bed that night after I told them, and they laughed at me, they all looked at each other and they said, no, that's a helicopter. I was like, no, it's not. When I went to bed that night, there were green and red lights in our room. And my sister didn't wake up and I did. And it tripped me out. Like I said, I was seventh grade. And my age was a year behind what it was supposed to be for that because I started early in a private school so that I would go to school with all of my friends. I could transfer and be at the same school in the same grade. You don't want to hear that. But anyway, so I was younger than most seventh graders. I was tripping out because I knew that I was just like, oh my God. So I did not know what to think of that. It was just really frightening. And that was my first experience with something I couldn't explain that was airborne. So fast forward, I'm a dog walker. I lived out on a farm in Georgia. I played outside with my kids. There was always something in the sky. I did not live that far from Atlanta Hartsfield. I know that. And I know that most of what looked anomalous was not. But there were times that it was. And I really think that if you're an outdoor person, you probably have these experiences. And it's been intimidating for a lot of people to come forward with it, especially abductees, because people think they're crazy unless they have some background with this. And I think that one of the reasons that everybody has been so excited with this to the fore, now we don't call it UFOs because you don't want that negative connotation. It's UAPs. It's a whole different, ball game, because people are not afraid to talk about it. People are talking about it. There are things like the Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies and sister groups. I mean, this is mainstream conversation. And what is coming out now, and I'm going to tell you, I did not realize how long this had been in our skies. And it was just absolutely blowing my mind. But we have now the Three-Eye Atlas. This is the third, only the third, interstellar object that we have been told about. The main line is, this is only the third one ever to come into our part of the world from another galaxy. I mean, it's really kind of interesting. And I want you to know that I see you. And hey, Tom McNicholas, I know you're Burr. I just want to thank everybody who is tuning in from X. I want to thank everybody who is just here for this information. It's something that, hey, Lori, it's something that, oh, and Twitter, thank you. This is something that I think is so fascinating. And if you're new to the subject, that's fine. It's really an interesting thing. This has been in our space for not that long. It is, it was first seen this year. It is something that they can't explain. They know that it's interstellar because they watched it come in. We have telescopes that are in the sky. And guys, this blows my mind. This is so cool. Bear in mind, I am not a rocket scientist. I am a talk show host. And I am trying to get this, going through my notes. But this is much larger than people thought that it was. This is, this is something that has it is not being pushed by its tail. That sounds weird. When it comes in, the water vapors, as it approaches the sun, creates the tail that we see. It is the breakdown as the sun is heating up and drying this out. It creates a discharge of the dust and gas and such, and it will push it. Well, the tail is not there because if it gets pushed away from the sun, it creates a cooling, and it has to have that heat to create the thrust. I'm trying, guys. These are not my normal words, but it's so fascinating to me because it's controlled, but there's not an obvious reason for it to be controlled at this point. And it's, I don't know, the unexplained thrust gets me because it's traveling and it's guiding itself. And, the other two objects, I'm going to start here. And y'all are going to have to laugh at me because I do not know how to say the name of the first one. I try every time I get in this topic, and I'm totally sure I'm getting it wrong every time. But it's a Hawaiian word, and it's the, I'm going to try Oumuamua. I know it's wrong. But, what is interesting to me, Oumuamua was 2017. That's not long. That is, in galactic terms, it's a second. I mean, it's just, that That's when we saw and could identify that it was our first interstellar object, and that we know of, that we have been told about. And do I trust our government on this topic? I do not. Do I trust astronomers who I know personally, who are brilliant and really up to speed on this? Not if they work for the government. Not if this is their bailiwick. And I know I just offended some of my friends, and I love y'all, but I do know what classifications mean and what you can and can't say if you're talking about something that is classified. So I offended someone greatly that I respect a lot, because I said, I had asked a question and he got mad. And so at a later date, we were talking. I was like, it just occurs to me that you never answered me. And he was like, I would violate my oath to my country. I said, I didn't think I was asking you to. So this is something, these topics are something that there's a lot of secrecy around. And I don't know if it's simply because of the propulsion systems, which is possible. If we're working on developing them, and our, competitors around the globe are working on developing them, then we want to be first, right? That's my take on that. So we had the first one in 2017. And then we had the 2I Borisov. My handwriting is terrible. Borisov. And that one was actually ejecting water vapor throughout. And so that is the propulsion. Okay. So that was 2019. So those two were 2 years apart. Well, here we are in 2025, and we have the third one, and it's massive. It is massive. The way that these are named, the reason that you have Amumu, the first one, they just named it. And in Hawaiian, if I'm not mistaken, it is messenger from afar arrives first. That's what that means. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that was Hawaiian. But anyway, so they named it. That's what they chose to name it. I don't think that was a mistake. Do you? No. I don't think it was by just, let's just pull this out of our hat. But messenger from afar arrives, and it did. So that had an explained acceleration, and that also had no tail, which is created by the water vapors. Then they changed their method of naming with the second one. I guess they knew there was going to be a second one, and it was 2I Borisov, the one in 2019. T for second, I for interstellar. Borisov is the telescope that first spotted it. That's the reason for that. That's how they chose to go with the naming from that point on. So it is saying that it's only the second one. And I didn't hear very much about that one. Did y'all? I mean, you can go into comment, just message me on Facebook if you were familiar with that. I was not. And I love this stuff and I pay attention. And either I just flat out missed it, or it wasn't well publicized. And that one, as I said, that one was ejecting water vapor, which meant that it would have a tail and it would be propelling that way. And this is when the closer they are to the sun, the more they have the evaporation, the more likely they are to have the propulsion. And I'm sure that there are people listening that know a lot more about this than me, and I am not offended by that because I'm here to learn. I am learning as I go. And like I said, I have friends who are rocket scientists and they try to help me. So, but, you know, a lot of these, they call them the galactic plane, right? And the galaxy's mass sits on this. The directions are that are perpendicular to the galactic plane point to the galactic poles. And the terms galactic plane and galactic poles usually are just referring to the plane and poles of the Milky Way, which is the galaxy that we're in. And some galaxies are irregular and they don't have any well-defined disk. So even in a galaxy like ours that we're familiar with, defining it is kind of arbitrary and imprecise. And so there's that. But it's just interesting to me that these systems, these galaxies, appear to have similarities. And I don't know. I'm trying here, guys. But when you start getting to astronomy versus astrology versus, we don't have any idea what all this is. It's cool. People seem to think that there's nothing really to this, that it's just some sort of a passing through thing. And that's okay. If that's what helps, then that's not a bad thing. But it's really a funky thing. This was actually I don't know, it's just so bizarre because when they detect water or even a little, UV echo in the scans and imaging, then if it's an interstellar comet that they're getting that off of and not one that we're familiar with that's within our galaxy, then this professor of physics at Auburn, Dennis, said that they're reading a note from another planetary system. It's showing the ingredients. I'm going to just read this. And this is from the BBC Sky at Night magazine. Okay. It tells us the ingredients for life's chemistry are not unique to our own. Every interstellar comet so far has been a surprise, said Zexi Zing, postdoctoral researcher and lead author of their study. Previous interstellar comets, the first one was dry. Borisov was rich in carbon monoxide, and now Atlas is giving up water at a distance where we didn't expect it. Each one is rewriting what we thought we knew about how planets and comets form around stars. And I guess 3i Atlas has kind of faded from view, has moved behind the sun, but it will become observable again after mid-November, offering another chance to track how its activity evolves as it approaches the sun. It's been behind the sun. That's why we haven't been able to see it. And this article is actually by Ian Todd with BBC Sky at Night magazine. So, the imaging that I'm seeing is really bizarre. And it's the NASA Swift Observatory is equipped with a 30 cm telescope, which most astronomers will tell you isn't that big, and it's not. I have a Dobsonian telescope that I use, and I actually like the sliding scope on it more than I like the big one, but that's okay. I'm still learning how to use it. But it's so fun because With this one, they were able to study it, to observe it with 3-eye atlas within weeks of discovery before it grew too faint or too close to the sun to study, because they watched it come into our solar system. They watched it coming across the other galaxy and then come to us. And I got to tell you, I did not hear about this, and I follow this. I did not hear about this until quite some time. It's just, it was blowing my mind. And I don't know. What do y'all think? I mean, are any of you following this? Is this something that you're familiar with? Is this something that I have friends who are frightened, which I don't think there's a need to be frightened. This is not something that's unnatural. We have these in our own solar system. We have sensed away from here. We have something right now traveling that has left our solar system. And, you know, what tends to make people trip out about this, I don't know if any of y'all have heard of the wow signal. Have you? Well, if you haven't, let me pull up this and see if I can get a good description of it for you, because I don't want to screw up explaining it. It was a 72-second narrowband radio burst. It was detected in 1977, and it was by the Big Ear radio telescope. It has never been detected again. While it was originally considered a possible extraterrestrial signal, recent hypotheses suggest it was likely a natural phenomenon, such as a powerful astrophysical maser, a microwave laser, from a cloud of gas, like swamp gas maybe, possibly triggered by a transient event like a magnetar flare. The signal's exact source remains a mystery, with various natural explanations proposed and debated by scientists. What it was detected by astronomers at Ohio State, and that's where the Big Ear radio telescope was. It was so strong that an astronomer reviewing the computer printout wrote "wow" next to the signal's data. I've heard that there was another reason for that. The signal appeared to originate from the constellation Sagittarius and lasted for 72 seconds, consistent with an extraterrestrial source passing through the telescope's field of view. It's never been detected again. This comet is coming from Sagittarius. That's why some people are just wigging out about it. It's okay. But, you know, it's an interesting thing. And I'm going to tell you that I know that SETI is all over this. SETI is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Seth Shostak is the director of that. He has been there for ever and ever. And I like him. We know each other. We've seen each other at conferences. We've shared a table for dinner. He's a very nice man. He is adamant that out of all the years of SETI, there's never been anything that couldn't be explained. I can't explain the wow signal. And ostensibly, there's all kinds of natural phenomena that has been proffered as a reason, an explanation for the wow signal. And that's okay. But it's really fascinating to me that I participated in SETI. I've had my computers running through it, which is what it's set up for. And I just find it odd that there's never been anything that could have been considered extraterrestrial. I just think, and it's just interesting. You know, the astrophysical explanation for the wow, you can look that up just like anybody can, but it's just a strong narrowband radio signal detected on August 15th, 1977. And it was used to support the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It is the reason that we have something up there in the first place, because they felt so strongly that this was a possibility. And when we have things that flow through that appear to be operating intelligently with change of speed, that are not explained by a gravitational movement, which would be the plumes, the propulsion from the burst of steam that's coming out of it when the water is evaporating. If that's not going on and there's still propulsion, I think that's interesting. So that is that's something that gets to me. It's we've had so many opportunities now to actually get imaging. China has released theirs. Japan has released theirs. We have not released our imaging. We have so many cameras in the sky. We have cameras on rovers and such on Mars. Heaven only knows what we have that we don't know about that's up there right now. There's a lot. There's so much junk in our sky. And we aren't releasing ours because of the government shutdown. But we're letting adversarial countries have that information and share it with their population. But we can't do it because we're shut down. I do not quite know what I think of that. And if you have an opinion, I would love to hear it, because I think it's just lousy. So I do have an image, and I wanted to share that because this is the first one that came out. And let's see, let me go back to my comments up here. Are there any signs of a magnetic field or charged particles around it? And that's from Tom McNicholas. And that's a great question. And everything that I read, there hasn't been anything that I've seen that referenced that. And we will be having a specialist on in December. We're going to get past Thanksgiving and they're going to be back. So I cannot say definitively because I haven't seen all of the research, but in all of the research I have done to date, I have not found anything relevant to a magnetic field. And I don't know that they could tell if there were charged particles, to be honest. It'd be interesting if it was, but I don't think that there's anything that would generate a magnetic field. Ostensibly, these are rocks. I mean, the imaging that was shown of the 3-eye axis, excuse me, the 3-eye axis is that it's just bumpy and a rock. I think that's actually, in large part, it looks just like images that we've seen of other comets. And one that I saw that was being portrayed as this one was not what it looks like in the imaging. So, but this is the original find. The image that's up now is the original find, and that was really a surprise. And I find it interesting. We did not hear about this until it was already in our solar system. So we had something that they knew was coming to us that was going to be crossing out of another galaxy into ours. And They waited till it was here to talk about it publicly. Kind of makes you wonder what else they know is coming sometimes, right? Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist whatsoever, but I am. I think that we don't always get the information that we need. I know it's because I blame it on Orson Welles' wonderful portrayal of an alien invasion to our country, to our world, because he did such a good job that was hard. And it was just too much for people. People died as a result of that radio broadcast. And I think that freaked everyone out. And I think we're never going to have them brave enough to put this out to us. And I think that's tragic. They should trust us. But then again, that's probably why we don't trust them. And Tom McNicholas says, how long will it stay bright enough to observe? And as long as its brightness comes from the sun, this is not generating light as far as I know. And if I'm wrong about that, somebody please correct me in chat because I would appreciate it. But I think we can see it because of reflectivity. It doesn't appear to be anything. The imaging that we're being shown, it looks like a rock, big old rock. This sucker is freaking huge. So it is 5 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken. So no, nothing indicating a magnetic field, nothing that I've read that they would be able to recognize charged particles around it. Time, you've got the best questions on the planet tonight. Almost literally. But it's just something that I love these things. I love this. This is why I have a telescope. This is why I love being part of fate. This is why I have friends that are brilliant, so much smarter than me about this, and they've made it their life's work. They absolutely want to get inside the cosmos and understand all of this, and that is one of the coolest things I think that anybody could do. It's just it just is over. It is called an asteroid. It is an asteroid, but it's a comet because it is creating. It has moisture. It's creating through the sun evaporating. It's creating its own propulsion as the moisture is being pulled out and the dust particles are building up, and then it just and that's how it is being propelled. So right now it's a comet because it's propelling itself somehow. But if it gets Tom McNicholas, I love you. You make me think, and you make me have to go back and research this more because there's so much, right? I love it. I actually do love it. But there I am. But it's something that I don't know if y'all heard Avi Loeb earlier this week, and he was telling. In fact, if you have not been listening to Avi Loeb, and this is something that interests you, go listen to him. He is the most brilliant person relevant to these topics. He is at Harvard. He is he's brilliant. And there's other shows, they're everywhere. But the scientists are trying to get this information out. Also, I think that Abby is probably the most open to possibilities with this. But it's SETI is also doing a lot of work on this. And you can go to SETI.org/news/comet-3i Atlas. And I have a hard time with this word too, but the perihelion update, that is something that I had a hard time learning because I kept hearing this word and I didn't know what it was. It was just like, oh, well, I don't even know what to say. And it's not that big a deal. It's the point in the orbit of a planet at which it is closest to the sun. The perihelion is where, when it gets close to the sun, that's when it gets all of the heat from the sun, which is drying out the water vapor, which is creating the propulsion. So it's really just the most bizarre thing. And that is for asteroids, comets. You had asked about that. And it's when any astrological body is closest to the sun. Like we will reach our closest point to the sun on January 3rd, 2026 at 12:15 p.m. They had it to the minute. So it's not something that's weird, but the orbits of natural bodies in the universe are usually not perfectly circular. You know, we're on an elliptical. So it's an orbit with low eccentricity, which would appear rather flattened. So, okay. But, you know, and it's like the sun doesn't just sit there. It's just wild. And I really would suggest that you go to space.com as well as SETI because there's so much information there and you can read about this. And, you know, there are spacecraft up that are watching this. And to me, that's interesting. And the perihelion took place on October 30th. Then I didn't see this. This has just blown me away. So it took place on October 30th when it was 1.35 astronomical units, 125 million miles, or 202 million kilometers from the sun. And these distances blow me away. And so as the comet nears the sun, the growing work causes ices on its surface to sublimate, and it begins outgassing, growing a cloud called a coma around its nucleus. Comets voyaging near the sun also commonly sprout two tails, a dust tail and an ion tail made of charged particles stripped away from the comet by the solar wind. This activity makes the comet brighter and hence more noticeable, and at perihelion, that's outgassing, in theory, is its most active. So it's going to be flying by Mars in a month. And the Europe's red planet orbiters are going to be there. And I'm curious because this happened. We know that it's come by Mars. We know that we have imaging of it, but we can't see it because they're not going to release it because of the government shutdown. How convenient. But China has released theirs. Japan has released a lot of theirs. There is stuff out there. You can go look for it. Okay? You'll see it. And now you're not going to see a lot of definition because it's so far away, which is why we need to see what it looked like from Mars. And, I was kind of disappointed because when I went to look at it, it was just this little, not so much of a thing, right? it was just a dot in a star field. And I just thought, well, I don't know what to think of this. I was expecting bigger imaging, better imaging. And it really is just going through such a large area. And, I'm going to go back to the imaging. Let's see. This is so greatly enlarged. It's just absolutely insane. And then this is before it went behind the sun. This was as it was coming in. I had to stop and think for a minute because it's not up there. But, it really is the whole reason that I want to see this. The whole reason that I want people to put this out, because what we have now is so much more defined than this. This is from July. What we have now is so much more defined, and we can't see it because of our government. So people need to get back to work. That's my opinion. Just because I want to see this, right? There's so much more happening as a result of them not doing this. They just need to go back to work to take care of everybody. But you know what? I think I'm mistaken. The one that was July. Go back. Where are you? There we go. Bear with me. This is my first time doing all of this at one time. Okay, this is July 21st. So it was discovered July 1st by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, ATLAS, telescope in Chile. And I just can't believe that just since 2017, this is our third one. How many have been going by us, right? I mean, it was only slightly extended when it was found, and astronomers debated whether its apparent size reflected an active coma, the cloud of gas and dust surrounding the solid nucleus, or a bare nucleus roughly 10 kilometers wide. And within days, follow-up observations confirmed the presence of a coma, indicating active sublimation, the direct transition of solid ice to gas, even at large distances from the sun. The early activity suggested the 3I Atlas contains highly volatile compounds such as carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, which sublimate at much lower temperatures than water ice. Such volatiles are common in long-period comets, but their prominence in an interstellar body helps scientists probe the diversity of cometary chemistry across planetary systems, which apparently is going to be the coolest thing ever. But like I said, at the time of this writing, 3I Atlas was behind the sun as seen from Earth, making it temporarily invisible to ground-based telescopes. That's true, I couldn't find it. Its orbit, a hyperbolic path that ensures it will not return to our solar system, takes it just inside the orbit of Mars. And that's why this is interstellar. Okay. This is because this is not coming back. Once it gets through, it's just going to keep going to infinity and beyond, right? So it's just one of those things that is typical. It's not, it's not bizarre in how it's behaving, except for the self-propulsion kind of things without having the triggers for that. The non-gravitational accelerations arise when jets of gas and dust escaping from the surface act like tiny thrusters, subtly altering the comet's trajectory. And that's why reinforcing the importance of continuous monitoring. So I find that fascinating. There's a unistellar network It's a global community of citizen astronomers coordinated by the SETI Institute. Scientists collect near continuous photometric data, measuring changes in brightness that signal new outbursts or fragmentation events. And I read something yesterday morning, saying that they thought that 3i Atlas had fragmented. And I haven't seen anything else indicating that. So I don't think that was very responsible reporting from whoever that was. But, you know, that's what would create brightness. But just before it became unobservable, before it went behind the sun, data showed an unexpected surge in brightness, right? Acceleration. This brightening exceeded predictions, hinting at either a sudden outburst of gas or an increase in surface activity. And space-based solar observatories later confirmed that the brightening persisted through perihelion, suggesting a significant change in the comet's physical state. And that, I think, is when people were reporting that it had kind of gone to pieces. So, but I haven't heard anything else relevant to that. And to my knowledge, it is continuing. That was the only reporting I heard about it. So, working spectra obtained with the European Southern Observatory's Very Large Telescope. I love that name. It's just our Very Large Telescope. Revealed another surprise, an unusually high nickel to iron ratio in the gas phase. How do I know? It's so cool. And most comets of the solar system, nickel and iron proportions released from organometallic compounds. My husband's a machinist who loves this stuff. This sublime at low temperatures. Early measurements of 3i Atlas showed strong nickel emission but weak iron, depicting a puzzling imbalance that began to normalize as the comet approached the sun. So the evolving ratio may reflect temperature-dependent release of those metals or difference in chemical pathways that formed their original ices. It provides a rare glimpse. I'm quoting here. Either way, it provides a rare glimpse into the metal content of interstellar matter and serves as a benchmark for future studies of cometary composition beyond our solar system. So, this is so bizarre. To me, it's very bizarre and very cool. I mean, here we are. This is so cool. But I just think that this is something that there should be a lot more conversation about, because there's a fear factor. People don't like things that they don't understand, and it doesn't matter. I don't like snakes. I can't understand people that do. Right? But I'm not scared of this, because even if it were a craft, we know that the odds are too great that there's going to be other life somewhere in this creation, right? I mean, we have things coming that have metallurgical things that are required. Obviously, this is not life-sustaining as we know it, but it still gives reason to think that there might be. I mean, it's just that there might be other things out there. And the fact that when I first heard about this, it was because people were discussing it in a meeting I was in, and they were very excited. It's way cool to watch scientists get about things. And so it's just really a bizarre concept to me, because I'm still learning this. I am not a rocket scientist. As I said, I read, I share what I read. I want people to understand that this isn't something to be terrified of. It's just passing through, and it is interstellar. It's come from one It's coming through ours. It's going to the next. And, you know, we have we have so many different ways to look at things now. I'm really frustrated that we can't see our own data because of people having their heads up their posteriors. But we need to see this. We can't be the only country doing this work that doesn't have access to seeing our own data. The rovers were up. They had the cameras up, right? It came past Mars. Let's get that image. Bring it out. So I think that this is one of my favorite things ever in the history of our planet. It is so neat. And I think it's funny that people got blown away by the fact that this is coming from Sagittarius, where this radio blast, I mean, it's just a narrowband radio signal. We put those out too, right? But I will say I didn't know it was Ohio State. So go y'all. Now, I have been off looking at other stuff. Tom and Nicholas, you're so amazing. Its composition could show whether planet formation elsewhere is similar to ours. Well, it could, but we don't know where it originated, you know. And if these are the only things that we're going to be told can move interstellarly, then we have questions. I have questions. I'm probably going to get in trouble for my questions. But, you know, when it says its orbit now carrying it back toward interstellar space, it's just going through. That's what I was told. It is not going to be coming back our way. And I think it's very neat. But, you know, I wanted to say a little bit more about how they found this, if that's okay. But this Neil Gehrels, this is a NASA Swift Observatory, is equipped with the 30 cm telescope. We talked about that. But it's above Earth's atmosphere, which means it can see ultraviolet wavelengths that are almost completely absorbed before they reach the ground. So that enabled the team to observe the comet within weeks of discovery before it grew too faint and close to the sun. I think I already said that. But I just think that the fact that this is something that we need to see, it just needs to happen. But when it moved into behind the sun, they called that the solar conjunction. And it became lost in the glare of the sun. And then now that it's reappeared, it is really, you know, the telescopes are up. People are watching. Everybody is on point. We're on this. And there's still not very much being said. So we actually missed out on seeing it at perihelion, right? But we have as I said, a flotilla of spacecraft exploring the solar system that will have much better viewing angles. And again, our rovers are up. They have other stuff also. They have a view of the hemisphere of the sun that 3i Atlas was coming around. And you'll understand my frustration when I read this sentence. In fact, our Mars missions had a ringside seat to Three-Eyed Atlas's closest approach to the red planet on October 3rd, when it was 0.19 AU, 17.6 million miles, or 28.4 kilometers distant. And we're not being shown that. We are not being shown that. People wonder why we don't trust our government, right? But the other spacecraft could watch it, including NASA's Psyche mission, so to the asteroid of the same name, and the Lucy mission to Jupiter's Trojan asteroids. Meanwhile, the European Space Agency's Jupiter Icy Moon Explorer, they call it JUICE. I love that. But the JUICE probe system, we're closest as it heads in the general direction toward Three-Eyed Atlas. Unfortunately, because JUICE is currently using its primary antenna as a sun shield to protect its instruments, it won't be able to transmit the data from its observations of Three-Eyed Atlas back to Earth until next February. See what I'm saying? This stuff gets so frustrating because you kind of feel like, come on, what are you not telling us? You know, there's been some question of it being a craft. There's been some question of it being, you know, just something much more bizarre than what we're hearing. And I don't think that's the case. I don't. I think that what you see is what you get with this. I think that there's not going to be a lot going on, but I just think that there is just a tragic amount of stuff that's not being shown to us for whatever reason. And I am just about through. Oh, Tom, what is your take? You have been having the most intelligent questions, and I appreciate this. I'm going to ask you. You said its composition could show whether planet formation elsewhere is similar to ours. Do you think that, I mean, because this isn't, do you feel like maybe it would have picked up something in its tail? Something that was on it? Because it doesn't sound like it's very much different from us, really. As I have a pregnant silence here. But I'm just blown away. Tom, I just saw your bird. Good evening. I know you're freezing. So I'm so thankful. I know that this is a shorter show, but it's been a travel day. It's been a big day. I have been working on trying to get this information gathered because there are a lot of people that know a lot more about this than I do. I don't think there are a lot of people that are more passionate about wanting to know more about this than I am. I think that this is something that we all need to understand as much as we can. I think that I will say that the Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies, you can find them online. And there's also a Facebook page, and it's scu.org, I think, is the web page. Let me verify that because I don't want to give you something wrong. That is wrong. Let's just. And it's scientific for, not Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. And that is explorescu.org. And you'll find the homepage, you'll find about publications, volunteer, which is called conferences, which next year's conference, next year's conference is going to be in Toronto, which I'm very excited about. It's been years since I've been to Toronto, but you can go there. You can visit the YouTube channel to watch presentations from the different conferences. And I'm here to tell you, the presenters are amazing. There are so many people that are members of this group that blow me away. I can't believe they let me play. Okay. I'm so fortunate. I love it. And I learned so much. It matters to me so much that these are the people that are going to be bringing information. This is not a woo group. Okay. If that's your color Kool-Aid, you're going to be disappointed. But the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies is science-based. These are, some DOD, some other military people who have opinions and research and fascination, and they want to get to the bottom of understanding this. We've got propulsion systems that we need to learn about. We've got obvious interactions, in my opinion. My opinion is probably not held by the majority of members of that group. But I do know that I've seen things that I can't explain. These guys could probably explain them to me. I ask all the time, and they're so patient. But you don't have to be a rocket scientist to want to get involved in learning about this stuff. And the fact that they share with me and let me come and come on my shows, and they want to get information out there because it matters. It's really a brilliant opportunity to go and go to the explorescu.org and just look at the information where you can go and listen to what the people have to say. They've got publications that you can look at. You can volunteer with them. They have a podcast, the Anomalous Review, which is the SCU podcast. And it's the description is dive deep into the world of unidentified aerospace phenomenon with the Anomalous Review, the official podcast from the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. Hosted by Dr. Michael Glosson, a philosopher of science and technology, the podcast brings together top scientists, former intelligence and defense personnel, and other experts to explore UAP from a rigorous intellectual perspective. Each episode features in-depth interviews that make complex topics accessible, big deal, providing listeners with a more comprehensive understanding of current UAP research and the debates shaping the field. It's such a good opportunity to learn. He is a PhD. Michael is an accomplished philosopher of science and technology, and his expertise lies at the intersections of the philosophies of religion and science, where he examines overlapping methodologies and conceptual tools utilized by both disciplines. And I have gotten a chance to spend some time with him. He is so much fun to talk to. He's a nice man. So, and he's smart. He's really amazing. So I would definitely say check out this organization. If this is something that interests you, this is science-based. This is not woo-based. This is not something that you're going to, hear a lot of emotional experiences talked about. I think any experience that you have with these craft, whether you're on the ground and it's up or people that interact, I think that that's a very emotional thing. They're trying to get to the scientific side to understand where and how and, what these are, how they're getting here, who's driving them, it's pretty interesting. So I am going to This does not say when this is on. Nights you're not listening to that. I'm kidding. But because I usually listen to it in archive. But you can listen to it all over the place. Again, the Anomalous Review, the SCU podcast. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate y'all being here. Tom, Astronomical Knowledge is taking place in Chicago on Wednesday, November 19th at the Adler Planetarium. How cool is that? So be in Chicago. If you're around there, Wednesday, November 19th. Tom, something you're not going to be in the Paranormal Experience chat room, I will miss you. But, I don't blame you. I would be going to that. I would be running a rebroadcast and going to that. So, there are things all over the country. There are groups all over the country. You can find real science if the woo is your draw. There's things with that too. There are a lot of experiencer groups around this country. If you go to any UFO conference except SCO, you'll find experiencers. When I've done Contact in the Desert, they have experiencer group breakout sessions. If you are an experiencer, you can find people who do that. I don't know if UFO Congress is still happening in Phoenix, but they had experiencer sessions, breakout sessions, and they're led by people who have had those experiences as well, who are mainstream. So, I know that this is being presented as just science, just the information, and that's how, until we know something, that's really what we have to do, is try to gain an understanding of it. What is this? Why is this? How is this? And, a lot of people are turned off by that because they want to bring the emotion into it, the experiential reaction that some people have who may have had interaction. And once science side matters too, both sides do. And if you are a person who has had interaction, you can go through MUFON. You can go to any of these other groups and conferences, and you will generally find somebody who will be having a meetup, and you can share your experience, hear about others, understand that you're not the only person who's feeling this, who's been through that. And if you want to do just the science side, you can do that at those also. They're full of scientists who are researching this stuff. SCU, Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies, is science-based. Propulsion systems, how they use them to travel these distances, and that's what you're going to pretty much find there because it matters too. So I just think that if you are having interaction, you need to find other people who are, and you need to do it in a setting that's safe so that you feel safe and so that your privacy is protected and so that you're not going to have to worry about whether you are taken advantage of or perhaps mocked. I have a friend who had an experience and he became an international jurist. So, it's okay to talk about that because he wrote a book, right? But it took him about 40 or 50 years to write that book because of his career. And I think that he was a little bit nervous about sharing it. He had an implant. He found it when he was running and having trouble running. And he was with a friend when they had the experience. The friend's memory wipe wasn't done correctly. And so one remembered, one didn't. The one that did spiraled and did not survive that emotionally. So it's that side is there too. But to focus to get to the bottom of that, we need to understand the science side. And the science side is what will bring us answers and understanding. I think, you know, I I am completely on the side of experiencers who need a platform. You do. You do need a platform. You need a way to be able to communicate with each other and to interact and to understand. Scary. Your family's not always supportive in those situations, but we need to get the science. And here we have a golden opportunity. We have our third, since what, 2000, what did I say? 2015, 2017. But it's just really, they're happening so fast. And we have had the capacity to see these. I mean, there's not anything that's that different that we're using as opposed to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And they're coming fast. So let's see, right? So I am so glad you're here. Tom, do you have any other questions, my friend, or comments? Because I love your comments. You're being so cool. And anybody else? I mean, I'll see them. If you put them in your, wherever you're listening from, if you'll put them in there, I will answer them to the best of my ability. I'm just glad y'all are here, and I'm glad you're interested, because this is such a big deal. It's a big deal for our civilization. I think I get excited about this stuff. It is so astounding. And my producer, who is the most mellow man on the planet, is probably going to laugh at me when we get off the air, because this is something, when I saw this, I was like, we have got to get this topic on the air. And it was short notice. My go-to guy does his own show. My SCU guys are, not available on this short of notice because it was short notice. I've been on vacation, and I'm sitting there looking at this going, I've got to do this show. I've got to get this information out and hear other people's opinions. So, it's just kind of like, okay, we'll do this. And I'm kind of winging and praying it because I was writing so I could research, but we were driving all day. So there's that. But I do want, before I go, while I have you here, I wanted to tell you about this. This is the magazine for which I represent with this show. And it's Fate Magazine. It's been in publication since 1947. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. Just as an example, we have miraculous healings and, the Coronado Islands UFO incident. The dead are never lost to us. There's I see by the papers, which is a current events kind of thing. Really? I have lost my glasses. We'll have to wing this. But I wanted to share because there's a gentleman, his name is Tony Rathman, and he works with other people's, not just him, but he is the face of it because he is the guy. But his name is, as I said, is Tony Rathman. His equipment is called, well, it's not equipment, it's a program called Staticom. And if you haven't heard about that yet, you will. And you could, because his article, The Staticom Project, is in this edition of Fate. And there's so much that happens here. We've got, Ghost Boy at the Confederate, which is written by Richard Sennett, who is actually a brilliant human being. And we've got Chestnut Ridge. I see by the papers, which is current events, which are kind of interesting. I'm pretty sure there's going to be something about this coming up in one. Remembering John Mack, which was written by, I cannot read that without my glass, Keith Keith Thompson. That's interesting because my guest earlier was Brent, and he did a lot of work with John Mack. So it's just all over the place. So I can't read this to you. The Power in Your Hands, which I think is interesting, by Richard Blankenship, which I'm pretty sure is going to be healing. And then UFOs, A Realistic Assessment by Rick Botello. So, Fate's initial cover was Kenneth Arnold and his experience, the first UFO incident that was recorded, and it was a gentleman who was a pilot who saw 7 discs, as he called them, fly by him, blew him away. So Fate's been following this type of topic that long. Other anomalous topics as well, but it's starting to look like UAP isn't so anomalous after all. So we'll see what comes of this. It's Tom's been following 3i Atlas for a while now. He had his questions prepared in case of discussions. So, and that's the kind of listener I have hanging out in my chat room. Thank you, Tom. So, Tom, you knew I had to do this. You knew I had to do this. This matters so much. It matters to us as a society. It matters to us as a civilization, I think. It matters to us as far as if there were a global threat, would we unite to go and protect each other? Or would we just go back into our isolationism and let the chips fall where they may as each society individually goes down? There's so many different ways that things of that nature can happen. I think the scenarios are vast, and we don't seem to be very capable of just being supportive of our planet globally. We isolationists. And maybe if we start seeing stuff like this, we'll realize how special what we have is, and we'll be able to take better care of it. It's take care of the planet time, maybe. But I hope so. I think it matters. And I hope that everyone who's listening has enjoyed this. I hope that you come back, because I have some great guests coming up, and I just want to be able to share them with you. I cover every topic, and nothing's taboo. We'll talk about ghosts. We'll talk about locations. I've spent the last 3 years, a couple of weeks each time, investigating Scotland with some really great paranormal investigators. I have diverse interests, and I know everybody else does too. So if you're interested in those things, this is a good place to be. And there will be a lot more information on this as it comes out, because I am fascinated by it. So we will see you again. Same cat time, same cat channel. I appreciate you being here. Be blessed. Be kind. Namaste. Good night.